videos today as well. I choose this topic because bigger technologies, I'll call them bigger software technologies, just gave us the way the mainstream functions and how the bigger framework is we live in every day. When we wake up, we look at Facebook, we look on Twitter, we look for video materials on YouTube, it's our new TV channel. And this way we live in another way. We're not just watching TV 6 o'clock in the morning, no more. Our new media channels became a reality, and our friends, perhaps not very friendly always to us, but it's a kind of technology that should be neutral, but we humanized it. So, in the last years I tried to use this kind of, to disclose some of the milestones or the key moments of social technology and to integrate it in the academic knowledge and academic audience, academic experience. How do we participate in this room? We could participate on Facebook, we could just make some small notices to each other, and at the end of the session we could just come up with some synthesis without having had any oral discussion. If any one of us, if every one of us have had a Facebook account open on a smartphone, on an iPhone, this could be possible. Could be possible as well to signalize on Twitter somewhere else in the world what we are making here with a picture or making a video, to put it online before even the conference just is passed. But that is one of the things that these kind of social technologies created a new language, an interdisciplinary language that we use, and this language communicates horizontally. Doesn't know the hierarchy of chief and people who are working under. They are working from peer to peer, from colleague to colleague, and they are just grabbing out the gold mine of older traditions from the 18th century, or just older traditions that are encyclopedic. The Google search principle gives us the possibility to look through all the sciences we want to know or not. That's a reality. For this moment, we can just realize, we can integrate in our audience, we have face-to-face experience. Another one, it's like a mirror in a fairy tale. We look every day. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of us all? And we look on Facebook, we look on Google, we look on YouTube. How this was organized? You want to ask a question?
No, I'm just wondering about the music.
About the?
To turn it up. This music makes me crazy.
Let me do that.
You can just...
Let me do that.
Yeah.
Yes, they
you
might
can
not understand you.
Oh, music, no.
That's the musical experience, just interacting with us. So, the interesting for us is how this could happen, how this was generated. That is the secret. And this, after this secret, going through the years back, we were looking at some Harvard students sitting like us at this moment, 10, 11 years ago, and trying to do something. And they were only emotionally very much involved to participate in otherwise in an audience, in a club, to be exclusive and to feel like they are part of the bigger picture. And because these kind of students couldn't access the bigger clubs. They weren't rich, they weren't wealthy, they couldn't pay for this. Even being in Harvard, sometimes people are not rich. And At this moment they took an idea up how to attract people and to organize a club around. And I'll show you a moment from the movie The Social Network, where Mark Zuckerberg is speaking to his friend about this idea, so that you could see it in a moment and we could just take a moment to discuss it. I wanted only to share with you the rules of the discussion for this keynote speaking moment. You could just cut me any moment and make shortcuts with question and answer. I'm used to it. It was usual in the Middle Ages as well to cut the speaking part at the moment that something is too interesting and to ask a question. But nowadays it's not very legitimate, so we have another modality.
People came to Face Smash in a stampede, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't because they saw pictures of hot girls. You can go anywhere on the internet and see pictures of hot girls.
Yeah.
It was because they saw pictures of girls that they knew. People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that? Friends, pictures, profiles, whatever you can visit, browse around. Maybe it's someone you just met at a party. But I'm not talking about a dating site. I'm talking about taking the entire social experience of college and putting it online.
So, you see, the whole social experience, to put it online, to communicate it with others, to share it. Because sharing with each other more, we have the possibility to survive as intellectual human beings and perhaps to go further, to make progress.
I can't feel my legs.
I know. I'm totally psyched about this too, but where go?
Yeah. It would be exclusive.
You would have to know the people on the site to get past your own page, like getting punched.
Well, that's good.
Eduardo, it's like a final club, except we're the president.
I told him I thought it sounded great. It was a great idea. There was nothing to hack. People were going to provide their own pictures, their own information. And people had the ability to invite or not invite their friends to join. See, in a world where social structure was everything, that was the thing.
So, you see, we're thinking about online experience always with hackers and people intruding our online space and doing wrong things with us. Perhaps we could think on the other side, if we give all the things we have to the others, we can share from them the same, as a big pool, as a reservoir. I can tell you it's one of the oldest philosophies and religions, the Buddhist one, is based on these milestones. So it's nothing new. Facebook only took this idea over and realized it on the basis of a reality. So, Face Smash was the first attempt how people drinking at a laptop organize a small challenge, who is handsome, who is not. But they hacked them in the system. So afterwards they realize they shouldn't do this. Intruding in someone's space is not legitimate. It's better to invite the people, to attract them. If you attract somebody, you have far more bigger value than being an intruder in someone's space. So I realized that digital humanities, if we call this keyword, could be organized on this principle, and I started to build it 4 years ago. That was a series of projects with the UVS Sydney. Just we were working on some virtual spaces that were building segment per segment on this principle. And the other point was to communicate with students on the basic what they want to learn. Trying to teach them what we have on the soft skills or the hard skills of technologies or our knowledge, linguistically organized or otherwise, and sharing with them with their own language. So the point is to speak the language of the other side. And so from Face Mesh and Harvard Connections, that were the first ideas from Facebook, we jump to Digital Humanities. So if the vision is to create a socially sensitive mirror of the habits of everyone, but isn't that doing Google in these times for every one of us? If you type half a minute, the rhythm of your fingers, the things you tip, they can tell you, hello, Mr. Schneider, how do you do today? So it's very simple. On the rhythm of our life, of our profile, we can recognize each other better, and we can tell to each other all the things if we are open. So we can link and share in a visual way. Why visually? What do you think? Why not secretly? Why not in abstract way? Writing books and putting in the books in the library. Perhaps somebody will come and read them. Why? What do you think? Somebody has an idea? No? If I'm here and I'm not here, is it the same thing? And you hear my voice. That was Moses to God. He heard the voice of God. Is it the same?
It depends on what you're saying. If I'm only interested in what you're saying, then it's the same thing to me.
Okay, so you wouldn't be interested to see me, only to hear my voice.
As I said, it would depend.
So you have to think over my next presentation, how to do it. Being visible is like to be friendly to someone. I have nothing to hide. I mean, I could be your friend. That's the reason being visible is very simple. So you can reach the person with the hand, and you can say a few words. And if the other one is interested, could respond. It's like a reader responding protocol. It's simple. But if you're visually aware that things that you're visible, not only to the person you're speaking with, other people could see you, they could share something with you. They could get connected to you. So you get a bigger network if you're visual to others. If you go to Facebook and hide your account, nobody can find you. What is the profit of it? Being somewhere on a mountain, like Moses. He has been several times if his sister Miriam hasn't told him where to go. For that reason, be visual, and you have more friends, more colleagues, to share things. If you wanna, it's your choice, and it's a hard choice, I know. The other thing is the exclusivity. Give access to your friends, to all the things you have. Do not fear them. If you fear them, you have not friends. Friends are the people that you can join every time with a new idea and tell them. They then tell you back. It's like a mirror on the wall. You're asking a person, he's telling you back. That is a simple definition. And ancient times, in the Platonic letters, there was the principle of friendship thrown in the academia. The very simple academia, 5 to 10 people, because our work would be also one. And what is prestige making? The prestige is not only to copy-paste the big principles of Google and Facebook and some high-tech principles to communicate. So to have the highest point. It's very simple. The Google search principle gives us the possibilities to see different things, a variety of things. As you're in a library, you're going to a place, you're looking for one book, but you see hundreds of books, and you can just access them and look at it. And this way we can create shortcuts between different sciences in places we think that are reasonable. to be connected. So that specific knowledge is accessible to non-specialists. And if we use the oldest principle of academia, that's the non-commercial way to access things, not to sell your knowledge, but to create a network, to share the things. You can have followers, you can have friends, because between friends the oldest rule is you do not sell knowledge to a friend. Global access means you have not to write and read hundreds and thousands of pages. You have to be tall, but not small, just have to be seen somewhere, not to be visually connectable to the world. People can see you, you drop a word, and you see in the eyes of somebody, oh, somebody's sleeping, somebody's thinking about other things, and here, what do we have? Body reading, just somebody who is trying to be attentive. That's very good. And perhaps you have a reaction. This reaction, if you respond to this reaction, you can just see more of what you have, and you can advance in your own things.
But you start from the assumption, you are allowed to
Yes, sure.
interrupt. You start from the assumption that everybody is sincere.
Yes, why
On
not?
both sides.
If we make the assumptions, perhaps it could happen.
And all friends are real friends.
I mean, friends are, there are different levels. There could be friendship, but if you just are sincere or just open to others, it could happen. And we could see what happens. If we close to our own space, it happens nothing. We see only ourselves every day, online or offline, in our own mirror. But we do not see what the other eyes of the other people see in us. That's the interesting point of friendship. So, expand overall with your ideas means to speak also other languages in an appropriate way. And I can show you just here how Mark Zuckerberg speaks to the Tsinghua students in Mandarin Chinese about how you could produce something new, a company or something else. And what is the point to make a good company? What do you think? To have a good idea and to commercialize it only, to have money? Or is it something else? No hints? Nobody connected? Okay.
Crowdfunding.
Yes, just with the idea of Mark Zuckerberg is to change something in the world. It's just with what you're doing. If it could be a small thing or a bigger thing, it could be changeable. But let's go and see him how he speaks Chinese. I hope the YouTube connection with the internet could happen.
Now let's introduce the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg.
I want to stop here only to say I'm not working for Facebook. That nobody knows, just thinks that I'm just a kind of mediator trying to promote some activities. But I'm fascinated by the way that Mark Zuckerberg learned Chinese good. He married a Chinese girl, his love from college time, so it's another story. But nobody from Google or other company just could persuade me that he had learned Chinese just by the way, just using private ways to communicate. So, let's...
小平 and world your God. 想要成为公司 当是因为创始人想要改变世界。
I did it from the very same beginning, just to see how is the atmosphere, because that is interesting. Could he connect speaking Mandarin Chinese with others? That is the bigger question. That he has learned a few words to speak or speech, it's not a problem. Everybody of us could learn in this world. Chinese is not the most difficult language if you can learn a few words and respond to a few questions, because it is not the thing. But if you could entertain the other side, that they can access with fun, what do you have, and to give them something.
那大家对你能说中文非常吃惊。你是为什么要学习中文？
Something happens here, I do not see it on the screen. So it's, we have just something here, have a small problem. No, perhaps I'll have to click it here up. No. What happens with the...
Somehow this thing will get internet on the
What happens here with this computer? It's not striking.
I tried it before.
You see the digital Humanities is one.
有三个原因。第一，我太太是中国人。他家说中文，和他的奶奶只说中文。我想要跟他们说话。今年一天呢，我和 Priscilla 决定结婚，所以我告诉他的奶奶用中文，他非常吃惊。
So, how do you think? How is the atmosphere there? Is it everything a scenario? Hollywood movie, another Hollywood movie they want to sell to us? What do you think? I do not know your name.
Me?
Yes.
I'm Diane, and I
Yes.
think you're having an awful lot of fun.
What?
You're having an awful lot of fun. It doesn't sound scripted, no.
Yes. But you know, just my friends from the ACiME told me, yes, Facebook is a dead-end street now, so he has to learn Chinese. Why? The people that are busy with technology are against Facebook and the social technology he introduced. What do you think?
Well, one point is that Facebook is forbidden in China, as is Google. Google doesn't operate in China, and this is considered to be one of the attempts to get back to the big Chinese market. Aha.
Yes, sure. He says in this speech that he has already 140 students that have graduated from the Tsinghua University in Facebook. But the other point, that's the interesting, he sounds here like a storyteller, a dissident, because he's not on the power. That is the point. He speaks Chinese. He gives them the feeling he's one of them. If you speak the language of the other side as a non-linguist, because linguists have a special meaning, how languages and things should happen and how they should be analyzed, here you have a usual atmosphere where people have fun. And if they have fun, they can go on. And that is the first principle of friendship. If you have fun, you can stay to the person, you can stick to the person, and you want to follow. And perhaps things could happen. Now, how I come back to my presentation is the second point. So,
Just one thing that comes to my mind is that you shouldn't underestimate the fact that Chinese are just fascinated by any Western people who can speak Chinese. They still think it's highly unusual. So maybe that's one of the factors why they're so enthusiastic about him speaking Chinese, because it's not something they expect.
yes, that's unexpected from somebody to speak the Chinese just going to China. But the other point is, if you keep your own language, I had a Canadian guy just on a congress. We were in Greece. I was eager to practice my Greek, just I have learned a few words, a few phrases, to go forward, to go ahead. He said, please do not speak Greek, you will be treated like foreigners. Speak English. And I have kept this rule. So if you speak a language, you're treated like another person, as it just, you have another dress code. So you're right. And that was another story in a Czech pub. I've been speaking just German. So the girl I was with told me, don't speak German, we'll pay the German prices. I couldn't realize that's there, so I received a menu, whereas they are the German prices, they differed from the other tables. So you see, just speaking another language, it's not the same thing. You're not the same person, and you can connect with people, you can tease them, you can just attract them and associate with them just in a different way. So, okay. So we have rechts, glaube ich. Ist, you see a Windows 10 is an enigma.
Sorry.
For that reason, Microsoft gave it to us as a present in this year, just without paying, because we have to learn how to speak the Microsoft language. And afterwards, they'll say to us, oh, it's okay, afterwards, next year could pay. It's accommodated, it's customized knowledge, because now you need two people just to communicate. You've seen. So, the principle of fun, to play the serious game of life, like children. That is another point we could realize and integrate in our academic experience. Because if we play with, we could just challenge the other side. Because small children are just very much challenging each other and driving their motivation into obsession. We see the obsession with video games and other things in these days in online space. So I have two 7-year boys, I tried just to give them some German knowledge, just to associate them to the German community, German-speaking community, because they go perhaps to school and have to learn German. And the one was playing with the online game, playing the game in grammar with some cards, Lernkarten. But 10 minutes, the first one was exhausted, but the second one came and wanted to have it. And then the first one wanted to play, and we played together 1 more hour. So it's not the same if you sit alone in a splendid isolation and you're connecting to somebody. But to connect with other people, there's a new rules. Just the first rule of a global language is to be light, not to be heavy, not to be long. As Kant and Hegel just told us, just to bring us in the atmosphere, 5 to 10 lines a sentence. Perhaps there were also speeches from political persons just having 7 words for a sentence, the longest one, and they're very clear this way. And then the second thing is to be relevant, not to get out of the point and to retell stories like I do in this moment. That is very entertainable, but perhaps if you're just putting things to the point, you have in 10 minutes everything you could do in hours and hours. And the last thing is to be always online. What do you think? What does it mean? Is it said, the same thing is said also in the Bible, preach all day and all night long. And what have done some monks, they organize a 24-hour cycle, and their bodies just crashed, their coimiters, just they are around Constantinople, because they took it literally. It shouldn't be literally that we are online. Things that we put online are playing for us. Being online means being connected with others, to feel connected, and that other people feel connected with you. And Facebook gives us this possibility. So in my courses I'm connecting just 10 to 15 people every time. And they feel like they have some parents, some parental aid. They ask a question around midnight and I answer them. So that is the moment the person feels weak or affectable, a little bit open and sincere. And then you can ask a question, not in daytime when they are overloaded with other things. And that is the moment you can just catch their attention and connect to the person. So, what do you think? Is digital humanities a philosophical milestone or a new instrument? It puts up some new kind of social intelligence. It's a highly complicated word. It means being sensitive about the things that affect other people in the interaction between us as research fellows and the public audience. Or just being emotionally sensitive about the things that could be vulnerable, because there are the points we could connect with them. And over the cultures there are some hidden differences everybody knows. To speak about the Holocaust to the Jews is not the same as to speak it to somebody just that's coming from Siberia. And some historical sensibility to get to the point, some historical myths. That's like Kosovo as a myth. It's not the biggest battle that the Ottomans have taken in the 14th century. It was 160 years, literature and songs, belles lettres, just have organized our experience and told us that is the real Golgotha. So now we think about this as a real Holocaust and tell somebody just coming from the place that's not it. That's a vulnerable point. And kind of religious sensibility, but not in the sense of religion, the traditional sense of religion. It's like to be a little bit mystical and turn myths into instruments to connect with your followers or people that want to connect with you. And all this has a multi-channel structure that has, in the traditional sense, looks like that in the 70s. I borrowed it from Fernando Fuyados as a model, how different cultures, common culture, on the linguistic basis, could be made a bigger, a wider picture using nonverbal language. But the point is not to analyze all these things. The point is to read body language and to react on the beat. That is the new. Because if you react days after or hours after it, it's like telling somebody what he had to eat 2 days after. And he was hungry at the moment. So what is really digital humanities? So what we just introduced at the new Bulgarian University. My students produced a small animation to be interesting to you as an answer to this question after a longer online discussion between colleagues. So I'll give you this animation, perhaps somebody will help me. Kannst du mir helfen nochmal so für die? Wie ist es?
Du bist
hier. Aha. Is it a new approach? Not exactly. Is it to see things suddenly with fresh eyes, in another way? Targeting what? Soft touch skills, present digitally in a very natural way. And that should boost us in being creative, to feel creative. That is the point. To find a simple solution that are also elegant. And if you're online, you're halfway ready. So online is the whole thing. How do you feel? How do you balance your nights? So that was everything. And if you're interested, you can join our discussion on the Facebook group. Social networking, a new strategy for an old tradition. That's how it started. So I'm happy to be here, and I will enjoy if you ask any questions.
Patrick and I have actually coordinated our what we're doing today. So I was talking kind of at the 20,000 level. I know there's lots of administration.
Have you introduced Digital Humanities as a course, or?
It's a BA minor at the moment. It's could be connected to all the disciplines because these digital skills are useful to anyone. It's just to work with digital instruments, just web instruments, or how to present yourself, just body language and social networks, and what is the hidden psychology behind. That is my point. So we're working also, we have a small jewel in the program that's with the autistic spectrum, that is the new disease of the modern technologies, could be said. How to use computers and animation just to get them over in the real society, because they are somewhere playing their games and they're very fascinated in their room. They cannot just do the simple things. It's like somebody who's a bigger encyclopedic person, but he cannot get out of the street to tell the taxi driver how to go to the railway station. Something like that. He's an autist. And things like that, how to communicate in a very easy, elegant way, not to give too much money on things, on new technologies, how to connect with people, how to have a balanced way, so that the social networks are not overloading you. So being online is a pleasure, a joy. When you wake up just to look at something or to go on your rhythm, and to discover things and to share them with others. That is, that are just from the one side, there is a series of projects with the UBS Sydney, building an open source center, educational vehicle that could be accessed from anyone. So we made just a couple of rituals in ancient times, it's like time traveling, and also just a map, interactive map, just how with a timeline could be accessed, and for linguistic knowledge just to see what research was done in the ancient times and to see what political boundaries, so some kind of political geography and linguistics and other things mixed in one.
So of course young people today, undergraduates in particular, know a hell of a lot more, certainly than I do, about all these facilities which are available. So do you think it's more a remedial job you do as far as digital skills are concerned, or?
You mean if I'm a doctor?
Corrective? Yeah, yes, basically.
Basically,
I'm
healing. Yes, a kind of therapist. Just for a therapist, could be possible just to use Skype or just Facebook or other things as well. But the point is not to how do you use the technology. The point is what do you do with it.
Yeah.
So it's like driving a car. If you have a car you cannot drive, it's a fascinating one. And you have a small car, you can drive it better. So take the small car. It's feasible, it's organizable, it's connectable to others. So if you have seen just this Microsoft Office and Windows 10, if I cannot just show you the real things and I need an assistant, a person assisting me in these things, so what is the mean just to be here? to be at this place. That is the reason just using the social technologies, Facebook and other things in your own life, if you use it, then use it also with others. Open the door. That is my advice. So it's therapy is also a point, but it's not the center, because the hidden psychology is in everyday sensitivity, to be sensitive to others, how to switch, how to translate from left to right side. If people are just feel bored or doing something, just to read on their face and to respond to this. That is the thing I'm doing.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
My question doesn't relate directly to your talk, so if it's an unfair question for that reason, say so and I'll withdraw it.
I would mind to hear it.
Very often when people use the phrase digital humanities, there is an implication that that's an odd kind of combination. Now you very much haven't done that, but it's something I hear a lot, the idea that we in the humanities aren't technical people, so there's some kind of contradiction implied in digital humanities. But what you very much emphasized is the sort of social and communicative nature of these technologies, and also the fact that they very much play into communication forms of one's standing. So I wonder if it seems possible, therefore, that actually we in the humanities are the absolutely best suited to work with these digital affordances, because communication is our thing. We're better at it than the engineers are. We're better at it than the natural scientists are. So that's another possible way of looking at it. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts about whether digital and humanities is a good match or a mismatch.
Just digital humanities is already 25 years on the market. It's an old product, if I'm sincere. But they are thinking always about digitize humanities. That means to digitize things, to have them somewhere in a digital library. It's a digital museum. And it's not the real point. The real point is when we sit here and we have also physicians, mathematicians, just to discuss, everybody from his own experience, what's useful to us, how to share things. And what we are doing in real life, we can just replicate the real life language and put it in our academic discussions as well, as a topic, and the way we discuss it as well. So, double vision. And you're right, just the social technology is in opposition to the real technology. For that reason, the people from working on the technology side are against the social technology, because they think they reveal too much from the things. And they disclose the whole information. Somebody will commercialize and have some profit from it. I do not see the point. And humanities have a much older tradition. What is communication? How do we communicate? The religious ways, everyday life, the social tradition. And there's no reason to escape somewhere and to hide. We could do this for a moment if we are just in the mood, but it couldn't just help us how to go on in our own life. And to my opinion, what we do in the humanities should help us to get better in some points, in points of ethics, in points of analysis, to have a clear-cut analysis, to explain to other people in 1, 2, 3 sentences what we do. Because it could be useful also, it could give an impulse to other people to do some research, to see things.
You have painted a very positive picture of the opportunities, the positive payoffs of social networks, etc. I just wonder, in that particular course on digital humanities, which role would the dark side of it play? Do you talk to them about NSA and autism and all the other dangers involved? Also, pessimists might say it's not primarily about social relations and communication, it's all about money.
Yes, just could be
Rich man.
Yes, yes, he receives money about this. That's for sure. It's not. My point is not who receives how much money, and what could we enjoy.
Well, I know that's not your point. I was wondering whether you mentioned
if
these
I mentioned this.
too.
Yes, it could be said just what who is winning on what is also a point. Just I'm mentioning this because I've been just as a mediator in foreclosure procedures at the German Postbank real estate department. So for 8 years, so I always point the plus and the minus. And you're right. Today I've put it in a very positive picture, positive light. But I know that you have the dark side of the moon in your head. So I have not to tell you what's bad on Facebook because you hear it every day. So I'm sure you have the bad picture in your head. So I have to put it on a so to get the balance. For me, the balance is the point, to see the bad and the good. And in the 18th centuries there was a discussion between French moralists if people left to themselves, to their nature, will go to the bad or to the good. What do you think is the end of the century? They got a unique answer. People go always to the bad. For that reason, they need to be disciplined through knowledge.
So that's a long tradition.
That's the usual way. Because if you leave somebody, he runs to the bad things. So it's no point just to see. You can always go to the bad, even if you're disciplined, if you have much knowledge, you can use it on the wrong way. So I think at the end, what prevails is to look for the balance of all these things. Because the good and the bad should be in a balance. So there are many people doing what's bad. So it's no reason just to put them in the framework, in the center, and to shoot on them, or to shoot them back. The point is to put something what's good on the other side. And perhaps this practice, because it makes more fun than the other one, could prevail, or could bring the balance. Because in therapy we have the bad cases. And that was a therapist that asked me, starting Digital Humanities, Mr. Tomov, I had one of the longest conversations with him, 1.5 hours, about how we could just do this. Said, yes, but if I have only negative cases, I'm run down at the end of the day. What could I see positively in the therapy of a patient? So my answer was just, if you could enjoy the positive energy with this communication, you can just put him a little bit ahead, just take him by the hand, and just to follow you in a good direction, not explicitly, not from today to tomorrow. It's like building a house. You cannot build it in a day.
Just a practical question. When you grant access to your Facebook account to your students,
yes,
or they grant you access,
I have an open access to my account, so everybody could run.
And you see everything they post, so probably not only the things they post in that particular Facebook group, but also to their friends and the latest party pictures, etc. So you would see everything. Is that right?
What do I see? If they have some
closed
area?
Ways, yeah.
No, just if they give me access, I can see things. But just Google had organized already things. So if you have the closed area with your photos, click on Google with your name and you see your photos. Most of the cases.
Not yet all of them that I put on Facebook. But the thing is, frankly, I wouldn't grant students access to my Facebook account. Because for me it's a private space, and I wouldn't want them to see things from my private life. Maybe that's it. I would like, and I don't, maybe there are other online communication tools that I would favor. I'm not against the idea, but Facebook to me wouldn't be, I can't see myself.
I have not the universal receipt for everyone, the universal key to open all your doors. I'm giving only showing about the possibility to follow.
No, that's why I was interested.
If it's your way, but I can tell you, if you open your account, you have an amplifier. I've seen it only once. How was the amplification? It was extra. Just it was a little bit. How could we say? Just interesting situation. But at the end, I've put a relationship on Facebook. My account is open. That means thousands and thousands see you. It's like more than TV. You have the power of a TV station, and you're a lonely person. You're showing something, a small event. If you're open to anyone, so there are no limits, no boundaries. So all the friends of the friends of the friends are seeing you. So I received just in 2 hours 38 people just congratulations on this and that from this or that point of the world. Even people, they are not my friends, but they are on Facebook. So the sense of communication is to open the doors. And you have this amplification effect. If you do not want to have this amplifying effect, you can have a close circle of friends and just to keep us here in a small room. It's not bad. I'm not gonna push you just to make another thing, but you could come to the idea till the moment I tried to realize and to teach about the Facebook key of communicating. I have an extra course about this. I was not that much trusting all the things. I have a friend from the college, a college friend of mine who's working for Google. She's in Italy, in Rome. And she told me, Ludmila, communication is a two-way thing. So you cannot have a one-way communication. So if you stop the communication on the one side, that means privacy. The flow, you cannot stop it.
But that's exactly what I want. I feel overwhelmed by the information on Facebook, and I started to exclude friends.
So you can put filters. You can put filters.
Life outside Facebook.
That's good. That's good. If you upload that much emotional things that they are catching you, it's not bad.
I wonder if there is a risk of casting a question as, are you an open kind of person or a closed kind of person? I have lots of students on Facebook because I don't like telling people no when I'm only your friend. Because I'm very, very guarded about what I put on Facebook. So there's nothing that I post on Facebook that I wouldn't.
Could you speak a little bit louder because it's blowing the thing and it's this technical device is a little. It's okay. Sure. No, you can speak.
On the other hand, I have a good friend in real life and on Facebook who's also a colleague who has a very tight circle of friends, and routinely when she's frustrated with a student or reads something ridiculous in an essay, pops it up on Facebook and says, oh, I am just furious with this student who walks into my office demanding this, that, and the other. Now, I'm sort of very public and keeping what I say quite guarded. She's very private and saying what she would say in a private circle, but people who see what I see are going to see that. The day will come when she tags me in one of those posts, and everybody, all of my students who might be some of her students are going to come across it. So it's a little bit more complex, isn't it? Then you get to choose whether you're a private person who doesn't want the overload, or whether you're a public person who wants to have your own TV channel.
Yes, but we have just to get used to this. We are no more private persons. If we are online, we are public person. That's the first thing with the digital age. We cannot just hide. We put all our stuff, or if it's a conference, if other things. So we're building a digitized image of ourselves as well. And our image is what we put online. So it's an old rule in Roman law in the 1st century. There was also a discussion if you give something from the hand to somebody and he makes a pamphlet or something else, puts irony on this. So what should we do? Or just black covers on your person? So, and they made a rule. It's very simple. You give a letter from your hand to the postman. It's no more your letter. It's a public letter. So everybody could do anything with this. So if you use this rule in your life, you'll not suffer about vulnerable points. So if you don't want to just have something, do not write it. Because 10 years after, perhaps somebody could use it against you. That's always like that. That is the bad point. So you have to have this filter here. Not spontaneously always to put anything on in the online space. There was a guy just selling, he'll blow the airport in Belfast just because it's too much snow. The police came 10 minutes later and he was arrested. And there was a charge, he had 2 years prison for this. That is terrorism. And it was just a word put on the internet. So it's about the bad points online. But the only thing is, in the digital world, we cannot just delete things. We cannot take them back. Perhaps that's this digital immortality. We're just coming up and up to the gods. It's like in older comedies, ancient comedies, just Aristophanes or other people. We can read them and think about this, what kind of image they had between the people, because they were public persons as well, because being gods. And that is the point that we have just to have a filter, being public speakers. Okay. So,
stick to the timing. Thank you very
stick to the
much.
timing.
Could you pack?
Yes, I'll pack my things. With